The allegations state that the World Bank was allegedly developing a multi-trillion-dollar XRP-based liquidity plan. This led to a significant deal of conjecture in the world of Bitcoin and the international banking industry. One of the most unexpected stories ever shared on social media was the announcement that one of the biggest banks in the world planned to adopt XRP as the foundation for a global payment system. In a matter of hours, content creators across all platforms spread the startling claim that this was a massive plan rather than just an institutional pilot or small experiment. That was so high that it was necessary to raise the minimum fair value of XRP to 500. The statement's dynamite wording, substantial amount, and instantaneous influence on my thinking were all features. In addition to worldwide bank symbols as flashing graphs and digital currency moving across vibrant global maps, the slogan, at least 500, was used as a rallying cry and was shown frequently in thumbnails. To persuade people to vote, this was done. The sum of 2 trillion became a prominent signal as the news spread. It wasn't just money at risk. There was also global power at play. Put another way, it indicated that XRP will be at the core of emerging economies, trade finance, foreign development loans, and cross-border money transfer activities. According to one of the circulating speculations, the asset would become far more useful if the World Bank were to route even a small portion of its global projects through XRP-based corridors. Based on this, it was claimed that the 500 price per XRP was a floor rather than a ceiling. Several who were supportive claimed that in order for the system to handle transactions involving several trillions of dollars, the value of each token would have to rise dramatically. This idea was discussed by several individuals, the cost of more beneficial or superior products. Some others thought that in order to account for the size of the global financial moves, the price of XRP needed to rise. This is because it is easier to settle large transactions quickly when there are larger liquidity pools. There were those who imagined a world where blockchain-based transfers, which removed the need for middlemen and the expenses related to currency conversion, provided rapid aid to underdeveloped countries. Others were dubious of this possibility because the story connected XRP to national financial operations, while others think that central banks might use XRP as a gateway asset to settle trades, currency swaps, and debt restructuring programs. From being a digital payment token, the asset was converted into part of the global infrastructure. The reality that some were so convinced that this change made it much easier to the price that had to rise into the triple digits for the system to be stable. More circumspect voices started to emerge as the commotion grew, asking people the assertion from a more grounded standpoint. According to reports, the World Bank study looks into new technology, but it doesn't employ speculative assets as its main settlement strategy. Analysts claim that they made it clear that international organizations have strict risk policies and that they cannot engage in any digital asset without a large number of laws before they were put into effect. There are consensus about the legitimacy and official support in many places. To take a deep truth, international financial institutions are looking into digital alternatives that could streamline things, cut down on bureaucratic red tape, and speed up the settlement process, even though there was no proof of a real plan to use XRP for 2 trillion. These efforts show that there have been real changes, even though the changes portrayed in hype films are more dramatic and occur more quickly, changes to the international financial system. As the story illustrates, community members have voiced their wish for XRP to be recognized as an important tool for infrastructure development and by powerful institutions worldwide. For a long time, investors have been led to believe that the real value of XRP is found in how institutions use the cryptocurrency rather than in individual gamers' experiences. They express their aspirations through the World Bank's fake blueprint. There was a growing degree of interest in the days after the story was spread. Many people believed that the World Bank was preparing to use XRP as a settlement bridge to create funding centers in Asia, Latin America, and Africa. Several people talked about multi-currency conversion solutions that are based on XR pools and do away with the problems that come with traditional correspondent banking. By using XRP as a currency translator, a liquidity engine with a 2,000 or trillion capacity could possibly move money throughout the globe, according to calculations made by important people. The story seemed quite likely to be genuine because of the excitement these speculative events generated. Even though these were only hypothetical scenarios, the 500 minimum amount became a mental anchor, a trend, and a creed. Simultaneously, it was shown as the base case instead of the bull case in posts, comments, and thumbnails that were publicly accessible. People believed that if they believed that 500 was just the start of their adventure, they could make a substantial sum of money. Some who support its use argue that if XRP were to be used by organizations in the real world, its value would have to be determined by the global movement of capital rather than by speculation. They created models that illustrated how a strong demand for financial resources and a limited supply of liquidity could result in high valuations. These models gave the hype a sense of scientific validity that was backed by analysis, despite the fact that they were essentially theoretical. However, upon closer inspection, it becomes clear that price changes are not always predictable and that no global group has officially approved or chosen a system that depends only on the use of XRP. This is due to the fact that worldwide financial companies are run by people from different countries, move slowly, and need a lot of laws and regulations. Demand, liquidity, macroeconomics, and value are some of the variables that affect the response. Stable for figuring out an asset's worth, these variables aren't fake plans or viral stories. However, the tale persisted in spreading since it provided a very satisfying image of XRP performing at its greatest degree. When all is said and done, the story shows how potent the combination of Bitcoin speculation and global finance can be. When the World Bank is mentioned, a lot of importance is associated to it. When 2 trillion is added to the equation after at least 500 has been established but impact increased, belief replaced doubt. When the institution's authority is combined with its exorbitant pricing demands, the story becomes a perfect storm. Even after more proof disproved the narrative, it was nevertheless able to provoke a reaction from the general population. Supporters used the story to reaffirm their belief in XRP's long-term potential in the constantly changing financial industry. As it happens, there is more to the story than just conjecture about the World Bank's alleged 2 trillion investment in XRP. This leads to an investigation of how people think in the marketplace. This illustrates how fictional narratives may change people's emotions, expectations, and potential to reignite their enthusiasm. Even while adoption itself is a lengthy process, it shows that compelling stories can inspire people to feel more invested in their community. This illustrates the gap between what investors think they know and what institutions actually know.